guys, Amy here, also known as Hidden Treasure Picker here on YouTube. In case you're new to my channel, I'm an online reseller. I sell mainly on eBay, and I also sell a little bit on Poshmark and Mercari as well. Today, I'm going to go over what has sold for us over the second half of the month of June. I just recently did a video about what sold for the first half, and now we're going to discuss what has sold in our stores for us over the second half of June. So between about June 16th and June 30th, this hopefully will give you guys some ideas of the kinds of things that are selling for us, things to be on the lookout for, and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first we're going to go over our eBay sales. Obviously this is not, like in the last video, this is not all of our sales from the second half of the month. I just chose some that were pretty decent sales so that you guys could just see, you know, the better items that we're selling for us. I pretty much tried to stay away from anything that was like under $20 for the most part. We had several sales that were like that, but I figured those weren't necessarily worth going over and making the video even longer. So I tried to pick all those sales that were more than that $20. So we'll go over some eBay sales first, then we'll get into the Poshmark sales, and then I also want to go over some Mercari sales with you guys, because we did have some good ones on there this month. I forgot to go over like the first half Mercari sales in my last video. So I'm going to go ahead and go over some Mercari sales, and they'll probably be for the entire month instead of just the second half of the month. So let's go ahead and get into some of these eBay sales that we made, like I said, the second half of the month of June. So first we have this Nikon Coolpix camera. I found this for only $3 at a garage sale. I'm pretty sure they originally wanted like $5 for it. They said they weren't 100% sure if it worked, so they gave me a little bit better of a deal, since I didn't know for sure, you know, whether it worked or not, and I was going to have to test it, and I could, you know, potentially, if it hadn't worked, been out that money. Normally, I don't seem to have issues with cameras working, so usually I'm fine taking a chance on cameras. So this was a good one. This one sold for $49.97, and that's a good thing to be on the lookout for. If you guys don't know, a lot of digital cameras sell for decent money. A lot of even film cameras, surprisingly, also sell for decent money. I've talked about some on this channel before, and a lot of other resellers will talk about them as well. We're not going to get into all that right now because I haven't, you know, I don't have any sales for the film cameras right now. But if you want to see me talk about, you know, some of the best film camera sales that I've had in the past, you could check out some of my older videos. There's one from, I believe it was sometime in November of last year, where I sold an Olympus camera very fast and for very good money. So you might want to check out that video if you want to know more about some film cameras to look out for. But yeah, a lot of the digital cameras will do well as well. Nikon is a good one. Canon is another good one. There's several good cameras to be on the lookout for. My suggestion would be, if you find one, make sure you look it up. Make sure you look up that exact model of camera. That way you know what it is selling for, and because there are some that won't sell for quite as much, and obviously also depending on what you're paying for it, you don't want to overpay for something that, you know, might not be a good one like this that sold for, you know, $50. So just keep that in mind. Alright, next up we have these Vionic sandals. Paid about $1.91 for them at the Goodwill outlet, or the bins as a lot of people like to call them. Talked about that multiple times, but basically everything at the Goodwill outlet you pay by the pound. So they have these big blue bins, you dig through them, look for items that you want to buy, and then you get priced by pound weight of whatever you're buying. So my Goodwill bins charges $1.59 per pound. It's a really good way to get inventory, I think, because it's one of the cheapest ways, especially for things like shoes. So we source a lot of shoes at the bins. There's a few other things we pick up as well, but we mostly have luck with shoes. So like I said, I got these for $1.91 at the bins, and they sold for $29.97. Next up are these Brighton sunglasses. Technically I had no money into these. What happened is I was shopping at Goodwill one day, and I picked up these pair of, I'm pretty sure they were a pair of Merrell boots. And when I got up to the register, I noticed something in one of the boots, and it was these pair of sunglasses. And the cashier, surprisingly, told me I could just have them since they were down in the boot. I was actually really surprised because I figured that they would take them and put them in the back and reprice them and put them back out on the floor, but she just gave them to me. So basically, I essentially didn't have any money into this because I was buying those boots anyway, and I didn't even notice that the sunglasses were in there, like I said, until I got to the register, and then she told me just to take them. So basically, $0 cost, and they sold for $30. So obviously that's really cool and really good to get something for free and sell it for $30. All right, next up are these Betsey Johnson slippers. Only paid about 95 cents for these at the bins, and they sold for $19.97. Betsey Johnson can be a good brand. Doesn't typically sell for a ton. I think it probably used to be better than it is now. And these weren't anything special. They were just these slippers. But still, I mean, again, they're so lightweight because they're slippers. Paid like 95 cents essentially for them at the bins, and sold them for almost 20. So I think that that's, again, a really good profit on something that didn't cost that much. All right, next up is another pair of slippers. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Geiswein, perhaps. I'd never heard of this brand. I saw it and they looked like a really good quality slipper, like a wool kind of material. And like I told you guys before, anytime you find a brand or an article of clothing, shoes, whatever it may be, if something looks quality to you, look the brand up. Even if you've never heard of it before, look it up, because you never know what new brands you're going to learn about, what things you're going to find. So found these at the bins, paid about $1.37 for them, and they sold for $25. All right, next is a pair of sandals. These were Tula, I think that's how you pronounce that. It's like an offshoot of Birkenstock. These I found at the bins for about $2.12, and they sold for $30. I think most of you probably know that Birkenstocks will sell for good money. Birkenstocks are a good brand, and there's a couple different brands that are associated with Birkenstock, or they're like part of Birkenstock, and they'll usually say that on them. They'll usually say, like, I'm pretty sure these said like Tula by Birkenstock. There's another one called like Tula, which might be the same because it says Tula. That might be another, I don't know. But that's another one we've sold before. So even ones that are like the brands by Birkenstock or whatever that connection is, those do pretty well as well. So I usually pick up anything that's Birkenstock or like an offshoot of Birkenstock. Because like I said, I mean, again, finding these at the bins for a couple bucks and selling them for $30, that's great. All right, next up we have these Crocs, like ballet type flats. Got these for about $4.26 at our local thrift store, and they sold for $19.98. I've talked to you guys about Crocs before. I think a lot of people sleep on Crocs. They don't know that they sell, but they sell pretty consistently. Not always for a ton of money, but they sell consistently. and we buy and sell Crocs all the time. Next are these pair of Reef shoes. Again, it's a brand I never heard of. Looked it up and it looked decent. Had found these at the bins and probably paid about $2.28 for them, and they ended up selling for $19.98. So nothing, amazingly great, but again, when you're finding something at the bins for a couple bucks and being able to sell it for 20, I think, to me, that's a good deal. All right, next, we found this Southern Tide polo shirt at, I believe, Goodwill. Paid about $2.73 for it, and it sold for $20. Southern Tide is another pretty decent brand. I think it used to sell for more than it does now, but it still does decent, and lots of people really like that brand. All right, next we have these Keen boots. Found these and paid about $4.24 at the bins. Now, obviously, when you're finding things like boots at the bins, they are going to cost a little bit more because, again, it's based on weight. So boots are typically heavier. But, again, only paid $4.24 for these. And, possibly at, like, a typical Goodwill, they probably would have still had these priced even higher than that if they priced them individually. So even though they were a little bit more than a lot of the other things that we find at the bins, I still feel like that's a pretty good price for boots. Like I said, comparatively with what you would probably find them individually priced for at Goodwill. And I'd never found Keen boots before, I don't believe. I find a lot of other kind of Keen shoes, but I don't know that I'd found Keen boots before. So I thought those were pretty interesting, and they ended up selling for $35. Next, speaking of Keen, is another pair of Keen shoes. These I paid about $3.20 for at our local thrift store, and they ended up selling for $29.97. Next is this Prince tennis racket. So I found this for $2 at a garage sale. Typically, anytime I see Prince tennis rackets, I pick them up, as long as they're not ridiculously overpriced. A lot of them actually sell for quite a bit of money. I've sold lots of Prince tennis rackets for $40, $50. I mean, they do typically sell for quite a bit. This one, like I said, I usually just always pick up Prince tennis rackets because I know that they're pretty good. So I don't typically look that specific one up if I find it at a thrift store, if I find it at a garage sale, and that was the case with this. This one apparently was not as valuable of a racket as some of the other ones I've found. It only ended up selling for $19.97. But again, I only paid $2 for it. So, I mean, that's still a good profit to make. But typically, they do usually sell for quite a bit more than that. So maybe, that'll probably be a lesson for myself in the future. If I'm only paying a couple bucks for it, I probably still wouldn't look it up, because I know no matter what, I can probably get, like I said, at least 20, and ideally even more. But, if that's not a good enough profit margin for you, then, you may want to look up the specific model on the Prince racket before buying it, just to be sure it's worth your time. All right, next we have these Nike golf shorts. I paid about $3.20 for these at our local thrift store. These were actually brand new with the tags, so they sold for a good amount of money. They sold for $39.97. Typically I'll buy Nike golf shorts even if they're used, but they usually sell probably closer to like the $20 mark. I really liked the fact that these were brand new and was able to get almost $40 out of them, so that was pretty good. Next we have these Merrell boots. Found these again at the bins, paid about $3.60 for them, and they ended up selling for $34.97. All right, next is another pair of Keen shoes. These found at the bins, probably paid around $2 for them, and they sold for $34.97. So as you guys have probably noticed, again, like I've told you, the bins, it's a great place to find these shoes for really good, cheap prices. and then you can sell them for, I mean, it depends on the shoe, but 20, 30, 35, I mean, sometimes more, depending on if it's something, you know, outstanding that you find. So again, this is why I really push on going to the bins, especially for shoes. I think it's one of the best places and one of the best ways to source shoes. And I guess it depends on if you are into that, if you're a shoe seller. Some people don't want to sell shoes. And some people don't like the bins. It's not for everybody. It can be kind of, you know, crazy. There's a lot of people at the bins, and a lot of them tend to be somewhat rude, I guess would be the way to put it. Some pushing and shoving sometimes. You know, people get kind of crazy at the bins. And the digging through the bins to find things, it's just not for everyone. It even gets under my skin sometimes, but to me it's worth it, again, especially for shoes, to be able to find them for those kind of prices, because I'm able to source things at such a low cost that I can then flip for a really good profit. So to me, it's worth it. Again, it's not for everyone. If you've never been to the bins, you know, maybe try it out one time, see if it's for you. It might not be, but you might find that you love it. Some people just absolutely love going to the bins. And like I said, I mean, I don't like the craziness part of it, but I love the part of it of getting the cheap inventory and making good flips. All right, next is this Wilson baseball glove. Paid about $2 for this at a garage sale, and it sold for $23. I've talked to you guys before, I think, about baseball gloves. Sold a couple, I think, in my last video I went over. And baseball gloves do pretty well, especially around this time of year. Well, more probably starting in like the spring, but spring through summer pretty much is one of the best times to sell baseball gloves. Again, something you probably want to look up, make sure that it's, you know, something that is going to sell, but most of them sell pretty decent. I mean, most of them are at least going to be 20, 25, and there are some that'll sell for even higher amounts. Okay, next are these Tommy Bahama shorts. Paid $5.44 for these, I believe, at Goodwill, and they sold for $20. Tommy Bahama, pretty decent brand. It used to sell for a lot more than it does now. A lot of people feel like they don't even want to buy Tommy Bahama anymore. I still pick up Tommy Bahama. Now, their shirts and stuff that have like the big graphic prints are going to do better than just your basic shorts, your basic shirts and polo shirts and t-shirts and things like that. Those typically won't sell for a ton, but you can still do decent with those kind of things. I typically pick up most Tommy Bahama that I find, unless it's ridiculously overpriced. Next is this Theory polo shirt. Paid $3.20 for it at our local thrift store, and it sold for $19.98. Theory's a good brand too. Again, I don't know how well it does anymore. I've only found it a couple times. It's not real easy to find around my area, I guess, because I don't find it a lot. I've really only found it, I think, a couple times. Next is these Ariat clogs. Paid about $3.63 for these at the bins, and they sold for $25. Ariat is a good brand. You've probably heard of Ariat more with like their Western wear, and especially like their cowboy boots. That's what they're most well known for. But sometimes you'll find other things like these. These were just like a woman's clog. And they still did pretty well. Now, their boots and things like that are typically going to do even better than this. You can usually sell those for even more. But it's just a good brand name to be on the lookout for. Next are these Carhartt flame-resistant jeans. Paid $5.33 for these, I believe, at Goodwill, and they sold for $21. I've talked to you guys about Carhartt multiple times. Carhartt is a good brand. Lots of people look for Carhartt. Lots of people wear Carhartt. And these were a flame-resistant jean, which anytime you find things that are flame-resistant, that typically does pretty well also, because different people need those for different kind of jobs. So flame resistant is a good thing to be on the lookout for. I've sold these Carhartt flame resistant jeans. I've sold multiple pairs of Ariat flame resistant jeans before as well. That's just another good description to be on the lookout for, and make sure you use that in your keywords because people will be looking for that specifically. Next is this leather Coach belt. Paid $3.90 for this at Goodwill, and it sold for $30. Most people probably know about the brand Coach. They're mostly known for like their purses and things like that. But they also sell things like, make things like shoes, these like leather belts, things like that. So this was a pretty nice belt, and like I said, sold for $30. Next are these Polo Sport Ralph Lauren swim trunks. They were like a vintage because I don't think they even make Polo Sport anymore. Paid about $3.20 for these at our local thrift store, and they ended up selling for $20. Most people know Ralph Lauren. If you can find different variations of Ralph Lauren, like I said, the Polo Sport, pretty sure they don't even make anymore, so that's usually a vintage offshoot of Ralph Lauren. And again, you know, that's a good brand to look out for. Again, mostly does not sell for as much as it used to, with a few exceptions. But these were also swim trunks, and it's that time of year, so that was pretty decent. All right, and now here's another pair of an offshoot of Birkenstock. These were that Tula Birkenstock sandals. Bought for about $1.80 at the bins, and they sold for $23.98. All right, so that's all of the eBay sales that we're going to go over from the second half of June. Let's go ahead and get into some Poshmark sales. So first up on Poshmark, we sold these Crocs clogs. There's, you know, again, Crocs is a good thing to not sleep on. Only paid about $1.69 for these at the bins. That's another nice thing about Crocs, is they're lightweight. So first of all, if you can find them at the bins, they're not going to cost you that much. Also, the fact of shipping is typically you're going to be able to send these first class, because normally Crocs are so light that they're not going to be over a pound, and they're not going to have to go priority. You're usually going to be able to ship them first class. So these Crocs sold for $30 on Poshmark. Another pair of Crocs, these were sandals, bought for about $1.16 at the bins, and these sold for $21. And again, another pair of Crocs sandals, paid about $1.05 for these at the bins, and they sold for $25. All right, next is another pair of sandals. These ones were Nike sandals, like the memory foam type sandals. These, again, paid about $1.05 for at the bins, and they sold for $25. So sandals are like one of the best things, obviously, to find at the bins, because they're going to be one of the lowest costs, because sandals are typically so lightweight. So I always love picking up sandals at the bins, because I know they're typically going to be like between $1 and $2 maybe. They're probably usually not going to hit the $2 mark unless they're a heavier sandal. So again, just something to think about. All right, next are these Fry boots. Paid $5 for these at a garage sale this summer, and they sold for $40. Next are these Doc Martens. Paid about $2.33 for these at the bins, and they sold for $40. Doc Marten is another good brand to look out for. They typically sell for decent profits, so be on the lookout for those. Next are these Lucky Brand sandals. I paid about $3.20 for these at the thrift, at our local thrift store. and they sold for $22. Next are these Ralph Lauren RLX shorts. These bought for about $5.44 at Goodwill, and they sold for $40. So RLX is a good offshoot of Ralph Lauren to look for. RLX is just one of their apparently higher end type brands. I think that it's also vintage, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I don't know that they make RLX anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure, but it's another good one to be on the lookout for, because like I said, they clearly sell for a little bit more than your typical regular Ralph Lauren, Polo Ralph Lauren type stuff. $40 for these shorts was really good. Next is these Tommy Bahama shorts. Paid $3.20 for these at our local thrift store, and these sold for $21. Next is the Territory Ahead shirt. Bought this for $3.09 at Goodwill, and it sold for $25. I've never really found that brand a whole lot, and I feel like it's more dependent on what it is. I don't know that everything that's by the Territory Ahead does really well, but I was happy with how this did. Like I said, paying about $3 for it at Goodwill and getting $25, I'm fine with that. That's a pretty decent profit. And then we have these, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Naot heels. Paid about $2.12 for these at the bins, and they sold for $34. And then we're going to go over some Mercari sales here in a minute. But I did want to head up on one more eBay sale that I forgot to mention, that I was going to mention at the end of our eBay sales, but forgot. So I'm going to go over it now because it was the best sale on eBay for the second half of the month. This was a Canon PowerShot camera. So this was a digital camera, but it was, you know, one of those really nice ones with the lens, like the you know what I'm trying to say, like the zoom lens, instead of just being like one of those more flat digital cameras. So this one, like I said, it was a really nice one. Found this at a garage sale this summer. It had $20 on it. She told me that it worked fine, but it just needed a new battery. And, you know, I was hesitant about spending $20 on it when, first of all, it needed a new battery, which can be kind of pricey, you know. Secondly, I didn't really have a way to test it. I didn't want to have to buy a new battery for it because, like I said, they can be expensive. So essentially I was going to end up having to kind of explain that in my listing to the buyer, that it was untested, that it needed a new battery, so on and so forth. So I basically got her to take only $10 for it, which was still taking, you know, a pretty decent chance. But I figured, you know, after I looked this specific model up, it looked like it did very well, and sold for decent money. So I decided it was worth it to take a chance on. And I'm glad I did, because it sold probably within, I feel like it was only within like a few days of listing it. And it sold for $100. So that was an amazing, amazing profit. 10 into 100. I'll do that every day. So yeah, again, I probably could have spent the 20 on it, but I'm glad that I got her down to 10 because that worked out much better. All right, we're gonna go ahead and go over some Mercari sales in just a minute. All right, guys, now we're gonna do our Mercari sales. Like I said, these are gonna be from anywhere in the month of June because I did forget to go over those in the last video. We've only got, I think, like 7 that I'm gonna go over. But these were all pretty decent sales on Mercari, so I wanted to go over them as well because they were all pretty good. So we'll start with these Solomon shoes. I got these for about $2.01 at the bins, and they sold for $30. So Solomon's a pretty good brand to look out for. Typically they sell a lot of snow boots and things like that. I think they're more known for like their skiing, snowboarding, that kind of activity. But these were shoes, and like I said, sold for $30 after only getting them for about $2 at the bins. Next are these Cole Haan sandals. Paid about $2.13 for these at the thrift store, and they sold for $24. Actually had these for a really long time, so I was glad to finally get rid of them. Cole Haan used to do really, really well. It's really kind of gone downhill over the past couple years. It just depends on what it is. There are still some Cole Haan that you can sell for okay money, but typically you're not going to make a ton. Next up are these Vionic sandals. Again, we've talked about Vionic being a pretty good brand. These were actually men's sandals. Found these for $2.64 at the bins, and they sold for $32. So I thought that was pretty good, especially for, you know, sandals. All right, next are these Doc Martens. Paid about $7.46 for these at our local thrift store, and they ended up selling for $40. Again, we talked about Doc Martens earlier. Doc Martens are a pretty good brand to look out for. Lots of people like Doc Martens and will pay pretty decent for them. Next are these pair of Brooks running shoes. Paid about $7.23 for these at Goodwill. This trip to Goodwill, I actually found several pairs of women's Brooks running shoes. And they were all about this price, and they were all in really excellent condition, and they were all the same size. So I'm assuming someone pretty much donated their entire collection of Brooks running shoes, and they took really good care of them. I'm assuming maybe they bought them, wore them like a couple times. That was probably it, because honestly, these were all in really good condition. One of the reasons why I didn't really mind paying like $7 for them at the Goodwill, because I knew that they'd probably do pretty well, especially being in such good condition. So I've sold a few of them off already, and these ones sold for $32. All right, the next one are these Justin boots. Bought these for about $4.13 at the bins, and they sold for $55. Justin is another good brand to look out for, especially with like Western type stuff, especially like the cowboy boots. They usually do pretty well, and we've sold lots of Justin boots. We've sold some Justin cowboy hats before, so just another good Western brand to be on the lookout for. And finally, the best sell on Mercari of the entire month, and one of our best sales overall of the entire month, were these vintage Fry boots. It's even better that I only paid $2 for these at a garage sale this summer, and they ended up selling on Mercari for $150. So definitely one of the best flips of the entire month of June. Was very excited about those. Definitely always be on the lookout for Fry boots. Fry is a really, really good brand. And lots of people like Fry. The vintage boots do even better. Typically it's going to be boots. I think they do have some other things as well. I'm not 100% sure. I think all I've really found is the boots for the most part. So always be on the lookout for Fry. F-R-Y-E. Great brand to look out for, as you can see, especially when you can get them for like $2 at a garage sale. That's crazy. And sell them for $150. Amazing. Wonderful. All right, guys, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the last video where we went over the first half of the month of June sales. This one, the second half of the month of June sales, plus all the Mercari sales that we wanted to go over for the entire month. Hopefully you guys liked this. Hopefully you guys like these kind of videos. I like to share with you guys what sold. Like I said, I feel like that gives you a good indication. More than just doing haul videos. I don't mind doing haul videos. If that's something you guys want to see more of, leave me a comment below. Let me know if you want to see more haul videos. If you'd like me to try to take garage sale videos, I did try in the past to do videos while I was out garage sailing. It was kind of difficult. I really enjoy watching those kind of videos myself. So if that's something you guys would like to see me try to do again, I could definitely give it a shot. Let me know again in the comments below if that's something you want to see. If you guys have any other ideas of the kind of videos you'd like to see, let me know. I will do my best to make the kind of videos that you guys would enjoy watching. But I've mostly been doing what sold videos lately because I feel like that also gives a lot of value because it shows you what is actually selling for us right now. I feel like that's helpful in knowing the kind of items to look for because you'll know an actual, you know, results-based facts, you know, because this is showing, again, what is actually selling. So, like I said, if you want to see other kinds of videos, let me know in the comments below. If you like these kind of videos, let me know in the comments below. And if you like my kind of content in general, please give me a thumbs up. And also feel free to subscribe to my channel. If you subscribe, it will let you know when I post new videos. That way you'll always be aware and can check out my newest videos when they come out. Other than that, I guess I'm going to get off here. Got lots of work to do today. I hope everybody, though, has a great 4th of July. That's tomorrow. Have a great 4th. Enjoy time with family and friends. Be safe and have a wonderful holiday. And until next time, keep on hunting for that hidden treasure.